Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to our first amazing Spider-Man review show of 2023. Let's see who we've got on the panel. We've got Tyler. What's going on, Tyler?
Heyo, I'm here, and I brought a little friend. It's Lego Venom, because
Very nice.
it's appropriate for this episode, I thought, because not
Yeah.
only is Venom in some of these issues,
Yeah.
but Lego's also sort of more humorous and jokey a lot of the times, a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
this event is an effing joke. So
Tyler will be reviewing our first issue of Amazing Spider-Man. That was a preview of things to come. We've also got Neil. What's going on, Neil?
It's me. I enable the worst parts of the fan base.
You are Recrap #1's fan, huh?
It's Recrap.
No, it's Recrap.
I don't have Venom, but I have this pack of Altoids.
Look, it just disappeared when you held the logo. No, your whole hand went with it. Look at that.
It doesn't. I have to hold it to like a foot away from the camera for it to work.
Yeah. In case this is a scratch and sniff podcast, you could have fresh breath from Neil's spitting out the truth. Yeah. All right. That's how we start.
That didn't work. That
Sure.
was like a dud.
Well, great. Next time you say something not funny, I'll be sure to call you on it. Neil, that didn't work.
do.
Well, that's true. I got it coming towards me. I got you.
That thread ain't worth shit. Because... Sorry, I know we're on the main show, but like,
that's funny.
That thread has no weight because you already do it anyways.
That's true. That's true. I shouldn't do things I'm already doing. Okay. We also have Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, Brett. Hey, everybody. I've come here and I've also brought my things. I have my glow in the dark chasm and Spider-Man Pearly Beast, and I've got my visual aids ready to go here because they're just as entertaining since this is a Dungeons and Dragons special Spider-Man episode today.
Oh, and there's your dog right behind you.
Yep, there's Willow. Willow's here to do it, and of course, I got my D&D ready to go here, so make George be smiling right there.
Oh, George would be happy. Yep. And Mike will be joining us soon. He's running just a little bit late, but we also have someone that loves clones on the show. JR, what's up, JR? What's going on, sir?
Did he get his eyes dilated?
Absolutely.
JR, what's up with the Ray Charles shades? What's going on, man?
Well, aren't I cool? I mean,
okay, I actually think he did get his eyes dilated. He's too
actually, I did because I had cataract surgery on Tuesday.
Oh, I was joking.
I wasn't about to say either.
Laughing at you assholes.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at my prescience.
Hey, Neil, that didn't work.
I had surgery, and they gave me these sunglasses as a souvenir. And so I'm going to buy a car with a convertible, and I'm going to go down the street and wave, and everybody's going to notice how cool I am with these shades.
Way downtown.
Someone to put you in their spot is Vinkman says, JR looks like Doc Ock.
That's better than the Pillsbury Doughboy that was being used against me some other time. So
Jonathan says this is JR 2099.
You really are.
Kelly says the dark web made JR go blind. I believe that one. Amen. Amen. Oh, yes, Gary and the Frozen. The negative reviews are going to fly tonight, baby.
Wow, you don't know that. How do you know?
You tease because this is an effing
said
joke,
it already.
Man. You said it.
This is true.
All right. So we are starting. We're going to review 3 issues of Amazing tonight. We're going to tackle ASM 909, 910, and 911. And this one has Venom in it. So I thought Tyler is the biggest Venom fan I know. So Tyler, you review this book, please.
Okay.
If you can, because man,
Oof is right.
Oof.
Oof.
So,
that's tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is dark web.
It's starting to get dark.
Yeah, we start this art by Ed McGuinness and written by Zeb Wells, and we start right in the middle of the Demon Invasion of New York, Demon Invasion 2.0. So we got Stroller trying to eat a baby, but then a web whips out the demon Stroller away, and of course it's our favorite web slinger, Venom, the lethal protector.
There he is. He saves the baby. There he is.
Yeah. This is classic 90s Eddie Brock, and he's picking up babies and kissing them as Venom does, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then he wants to go see Spider-Man and eat his brains because this is dumb Venom. He's been mentally regressed. Like everybody loves that, right? Just what we needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, Spider-Man's swinging past a bunch more demon stuff in the city. There's demon Christmas trees, demon books. There's lots of demon stuff. And he's go check on his boss, Norman Osborn, because Norman helped me when I lost Mary Jane, and that was quite a pickle. You know, we'd really like to know what that pickle was about, but I just don't really give a shit anymore. Sorry, I know we shouldn't swear. I'm so used to satellites.
Well, if any review is going to make us swear, it's this one. These three.
Oh man!
Just watch the F bombs. We're good. We haven't had an F bomb yet.
I'm gonna Gwen Stacy myself by the time this night is over.
Snap. He's gonna snap. He is. I like that. I got that reference.
No, I'm gonna jump off a bridge.
Oh well, that
You're gonna get stuck on an airlock there, Neil.
all right.
So Peter finds Norman Osborn beaten on the ground, and the culprit is, of course, Ben Reilly, everyone's favorite new villain, Chasm.
Yeah, Chasm.
Based Ben.
Yeah, Baja Blast Spider-Man.
Baja Blast Ben. That has more alliteration than Chasm.
I was about to say he looks more like Purple Thunder though, as far as Mountain Dew.
He really does look like some sort of energy drink sponsored Spider-Man.
Yeah, he does.
So.
Let's go to go drink White Claw on like a speedboat.
It's White Claw
with
Ben
some
Reilly.
yacht rock. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the first time Peter's seen Ben since Beyond ended. So he's
How
kind
does he know how does he know it's Ben, by the way?
Because he's in a
Sounds like
shitty
him.
story.
He just knows, okay?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
He's like, wait, you're doing this? He's like, yeah, I'm edgy now. And he's like, oh, okay. And then suddenly Venom comes and punches Spider-Man in the head. And so, anyway, Chasm's like, I got other stuff to do. I'll be back later. So, bye. You deal with that. And so,
Okay.
of course, Peter is very confused why Eddie is acting like this. He's like, you're kind of way dumber. What's going on? And if you want to know
dumbed
why,
down for the crossover, Eddie.
yeah. If you want to know why, go read Venom, if you want, I guess.
No.
And this from the biggest Venom fan I know.
Yep. Anyway, so it's a sort of classic Venom versus Spider-Man fight. Venom wants to eat his brains, they really like saying that over and over.
Oh, lots.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, Chasm, he's got a bunch of demon tongues for some reason, and a demon cup, and a demon book.
Collect
And then
them all.
Miss Marvel shows up. She's like, I'm in this book too for some reason because Norman Osborn's my boss. And then Chasm goes, Chasm then goes, no, I don't want you in this book. I'm going to banish you to the tie-in dimension. And he throws the
I banish you to the tie-in dimension is the quote. Top that one tonight, fellas. I don't. Wow.
The applause right there.
Bravo.
So yeah,
Bravo.
if you want to see what happened to her, go find out in Dark Web, Miss Marvel #1. Thanks,
And the
editorial
audience
box.
goes, I'm good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So again, it's another classic Venom versus Spider-Man fight. We're continuing that, and the Spider-Man decides, like, you know what? I'm just gonna run away. So he starts running, and then we see what else Chasm is up to. He is visiting the Daily Bugle to kidnap J. Jonah Jameson. So, and then we switch back to the Venom fight, and
let me show you Chasm sitting on Jonah's desk. There you go.
yeah, he's got his feet up, probably didn't,
Yep.
probably all
chilling.
dirty.
I want the staff job. Double pay.
Hey, we got
Meanwhile-
some Spider-Man ramen noodles here.
Yeah, Spider-Man he's stealing manga, and then he's deciding to burn it because American comics are superior.
Let me steal it and then burn it. Okay.
Yeah, I got
Peter
that.
knows what's up.
Oh, here,
So,
let me show a picture of him burning manga. There you go.
Manga.
Oh, it's like the dropping of the atomic bomb.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ramen Ninja. So
Ramen.
he burns the manga, and Venom's like, that's not really enough fire to scare us at all. Except in the past, it has been because his weaknesses are very inconsistent. But he's like, oh no, this isn't for you. This is for the screaming demon trees. And of course, they have a sonic scream apparently.
Oh
so-
my God. For the
I mean, that's what happens, Brad. I don't know what to tell
no,
you.
I read it. It's the demon trees. Yeah,
So,
look,
yeah,
here's a picture of the screaming demon trees right there. It's like a choir of trees screaming.
Yeah. So this causes symbiote to freak out, obviously, and fall off him partially, and Spider-Man punches him and then knocks him out. Except they do kind of reference here is that Eddie looks kind of weird, almost plastic. Is there even a human being under there, or just a bad memory? And so that's because there's not a human under there. He is 100% symbiote. So I don't know why he didn't fall apart at that, just completely, because there's no human there. He is fully symbiote.
Okay. So the symbiote makes a mannequin-like body. So it has a shell.
Yeah. So this is
okay.
This is Ken doll Eddie, I guess. And then of course everybody's favorite clone, Maddie shows up. Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen.
Okay.
And, she's got Janine with her, or Hallows Eve now, I guess she's called.
Mm-hmm.
And so Spider-Man's like, "Hey, why are you here? And or you look like Jean." And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And then but she's like, "Anyway." Anyway, I'm just here because I need Eddie for his own tie-in, so I'm gonna take him away.
And you're banned to the what? Banned to the what?
The tie-in dimension.
You're tied into the tie-in dimension.
He's going to a different tie-in dimension.
Oh my god!
So Spider-Man's like, "Hey, you can't do that. There's something wrong with him." And she's like, "Yeah, but you have a Chasm fight to get to, so go do that." And then Chasm shows up. He's like, "Let's fight now."
Well, Brad, I've got a little present for you that actually ties into this. I have it on the share screen.
Okay, let's take a
Enter
look.
Chasm.
Oh, is this a Sonic the Hedgehog villain?
This is like someone's OC.
It's Cold Steel, the
Cold
Hedgehog.
Steel, the Hedgehog.
So I think that wraps it up, doesn't it, on that issue?
Yep, that's that issue.
Okay. And do we have any crawl spacers in the letters pages? I don't think we do.
I think
it seems like every issue we do.
Didn't peek it in there. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's the next one.
Yeah,
I don't
next
see any
one.
crawl spacers.
I don't think he made this issue.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Tyler, what's your grade on this one, man?
D plus, I guess.
D plus. All right. Let's go to Ryan. What's your grade?
I gave this actually a C.
A C. Okay. Neil.
C minus, but it's mostly Ed McGuinness.
Okay. Jr.
C minus.
Okay. A D out of me. Tyler, what's some pros out of it? Did you at least like the classic '90s Venom fight with Spider-Man?
Well, here's the thing. I do enjoy classic '90s Venom, but we just got that in the Lethal Protector mini, so it's like I don't need to see it here in the present. I like it in the past, but Eddie has grown a lot beyond that. I don't need to see this again for no reason.
I've got a question, and Tyler, maybe you can answer this one since he's a huge Venom fan. So, I remember at the end of ASM 93, before they relaunched into Wells's run, they made a comment about wanting Ben to fill in the Venom archetype as dark Spider-Man with an edgy costume that doesn't work with a spider sense. So why didn't they just use Chasm for the role they made him for? Why they had to undo Venom to get to this characterization?
Maybe Venom's sales weren't doing as good. They need to tie it in for a crossover.
Sure. Okay.
I think an obvious pro is the art. I don't.
Yeah.
The art.
I was going to jump off that. Ed McGuinness. Yeah. Ed McGuinness. He's great. He's great.
I wish he'd get books with better scripts because he's consistently been getting L-shaped scripts since 2007.
Yeah.
What's he been on?
2000.
Avengers, I think, right?
Jeff Loeb books and Jason Aaron's Avengers.
Oh, yeah. What was Jeff Loeb's book?
Hulk and Nova.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only downside to the art, I would say, is that he draws Venom with toes. Don't like that.
That's kind of weird. I don't like how detailed his feet were.
There was back when he was on Superman, you would see sometimes with Superman flying, and you would actually see the toes like indentationed in his boots. I'm like, wait a second, okay, Dad, it doesn't need to be that realistic.
This episode, the writers barely disguised fetish.
Tyler, any other pros? I hear the art, and that's about it out of you.
The art, and I mean, I appreciate Peter is a little confused that Eddie's acting different. It's not just like, oh, it's Venom. It's just, but other than that, not a lot. This is
any other pros besides art?
You know what? I'll give him that he was able to use his surroundings effectively to fight Venom. Like, he didn't job out like he usually does this run. He was able to kind of take in his surroundings and use them effectively to beat Venom. And I always appreciate when he's unorthodox and unconventional when fighting Venom.
Even if it's stupid screaming trees, that seems so.
I'll live with it.
Yeah, that's one thing I have say, which was a pro with me. It actually does show Peter as Spider-Man actually using a thought process. Yes, they're demon trees, but he said, "Oh, if I do this, I know they're going to scream, which will be high pitch, which will mess with the symbiote and do X, Y, and Z." So I said that should still be working because, as he says,
Yeah.
you think you're going to light fire. So I do like that thing that Wells has done over the last several issues. He actually has Peter going, here's a good thing, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, here we're in demonic limbo trees, but still, it's like, oh, you know what? That was actually kind of a slick move. I'll give you a thumbs up on that. It was actually a smooth move.
So Peter thinking ahead instead of two behind.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. I agree. JR, anything you liked? You were a C. You were higher than me.
C minus, so barely higher.
Yeah, JR and I share a grade. So
yeah, you need to ask, I believe, Ryan about because he had the highest, I believe. Boy, there's. I mean, it wasn't.
Remember, we're pros. Give me pros. We're going to go negative in a minute.
No. I mean, no. I mean, it's like I'm. It's even though that I really want to hate this story for all kinds of reasons. It wasn't as offensive as I thought it would be. That's about the only thing I could say is that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And that's it.
I think it progressively gets worse, in my opinion.
It does, but as far as a start goes, this is not like right out the gate. You don't just trip on yourself and fall into the concrete.
Right. Yeah. Okay. By the way, Mike is with us. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Mike, what's real quick? We just got to the grades. What would you give 909 for a grade?
Okay, 909.
The Venom one on the cover. You got Spider-Man making the trees sing.
Give him a V for Venom.
Venom. Yeah. I'm just gonna give it a D plus.
All right, we're about the same level.
Good
Nice.
grief.
Do you have any pros out of the issue? We're at pros at the moment.
Okay. Geez, pros. I think probably so far. I guess the artwork by Ed McGuinness. I mean, that's usually probably been the strongest thing about this. But yeah, everything else about. I mean, and maybe I think a little bit of. Oh gosh, I'm real hard pressed to actually find anything else.
Exactly. So were we.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler, take us through the cons, please.
Oh, cons. Oh,
yeah.
So, where do I start? I mean, for starters, there's just so much there's all the setup for tie-ins. It's just like, oh, Miss Marvel's here. Remember?
And then nothing happens in them.
No, nothing happens in them, and Venom. Oh yeah, he's got to go to his own tie-in, and it's just like I don't care. It's like isn't the whole reason of an alpha to set up all the tie-ins for the event, not the middle of the event? So,
Thinking, what's that?
Or how about just telling a nice beginning, middle, and end story with not tree branches all over the place, and you got to have a flow chart, and you got to have a brink truck to back up to pay for it. I mean, why not just a nice, concise story?
Yeah, and then
wouldn't that be nice?
Well, no, you see, Brad,
you are in the wrong decade, dude.
Oh, I would agree. I would agree.
Even in the wrong decade for two of them.
Yeah,
that's
true.
But,
we've all been with them too.
But yeah, another big con for me is the initial Ben encounter. Even it's like this is the first time Peter's seen this, and they don't even get a chance to talk or anything because it's like, oh, Venom's here now. You go to a Venom fight. So
yeah,
it's like there's so much that they have to go over about how Ben doesn't explain anything. He just goes, "Hey, Venom's behind you." Like that's it.
Don't
that's all
worry,
he gets.
will.
Real quick, I've got something to go off of that, Tyler. You know how the first issue of Dark Web was really gothic and set up as like a really serious event? Well, now Zeb Wells is just like, I don't care. Let's turn it into a comedy. Like Zeb Wells has truly become an MCU writer where he can't take anything he does seriously and has it undercut with like a joke. Where like Venom tackles Peter and Ben turns to the camera and goes, "Oops, well, back to work, I guess." And you expect a Seinfeld laugh track.
The stakes do not feel at all life threatening to Spider-Man in this, do they?
No.
Like,
No.
I'm like, oh, I wonder how he's gonna get out of this one. Like, there's no stakes. It's all Vienna sausages. I mean, it's not a steak. There's a quote. I'm trying to get up to the number one spot, Tyler, with your off to the satellite land or whatever.
You can't top him. He's already set the bar too high.
He set the bar really high for the quote of the night. Anything else, Tyler, about the negative since it's yours?
I mean, to go along with the whole thing as a comedy thing, I don't think any of the demon stuff is funny. It's constantly like we'll get through, especially in the later issues, but there's all these jokes about like the news. He steals from the newsstand. It goes, "Hey, stop!" Or like the screaming trees running away from fire, or the demon stroller. It's not funny at all.
I don't want to eat your baby. Yes, I do. That's basically what it is.
Later on, there's in later issues we'll talk about it later, but there's a couple of visual gags that actually did get a laugh out of me. But the demons, Tyler is correct, are incredibly unfunny and feels like it kind of reads like a Dan Slott issue where Dan Slott thought he was funnier than he actually is. Yeah. The same experiment repeats with Zeb Wells.
See, and the thing is with Zeb Wells, I read Hellions. There was a lot of funny stuff in that.
Oh,
that was great.
Same here. Same here.
Is it just because he doesn't care anymore, or like what?
I think he cares, but his comedy is much more macabre than Spider-Man's, or at least the humor of Hellions is.
And I think Ryan and JR definitely were around in 1988 for the first Inferno. And
I didn't read it.
It seems like the stakes were a little higher with Inferno. I don't know. Maybe because I remember them being held up in Peter's apartment. And they were boarding up the windows, and it wasn't for laughs like it is now.
Well, the
story
story
like Inferno
bigger.
too.
Yeah, the story seemed bigger then, and I didn't read any of the ancillary tie-ins of that garbage fest. But I just remember things like Harry, for example, on the Goblin Glider flying in and out of Forest Hills, and the Empire State Building turning into something. I mean, it just seemed that there was a larger sense of scale, and this is so. Well, I mean, I don't want to say intensely personal because but there's just there's no sense of scale to this. There's no sense of how devastating this is.
JR, would a proper, I guess, to not put words in your mouth, but would the best way to put it be overly self-contained?
Well, the scale in the matter of how many books is in it is.
I mean the scale of like the actual impact on the universe.
That's an interesting way of putting it, because I'm not reading any of the X-Men garbage or anything like that. But I don't know what's in there. I mean, and I don't know how the story is going to end. But
I got something to say about that. We'll get to that later.
But it's it's like this almost is like the real. I mean, I could be wrong because I said I'm not reading any of the other stuff, but it's almost like the real story is going to go on in the X-Men, because we all love it's the X-Men's world and we're all living in it. But we brought Spider-Man in to be a tie-in, and we're just, and basically, I mean, I it looks like Zeb Wells just be, hey Zeb, make up something. This isn't the main story, but just make up something to make it last 3 or 4 months.
Here's what I think is could be part of the problem here, is because if the original Inferno, there was a sense of, I mean, that was a culmination of basically under Chris Claremont years worth of stories, basically.
Oh yeah.
Alan Fire. This one is just more like, hey kids, remember this story from this crossover? Do you remember like from years ago?
35 years ago?
Yes, let's revisit that. And
it's not even an original idea, too, which is kind of throwing me off. The demons invade New York. What, Neil?
So real quick, I'm gonna do a bit of spoilers for going ahead, talking about the X-Men stuff before we go to satellites. Okay. They accidentally solved the story in the tie-in for X-Men.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. But Jerry Dugan accidentally fixed the plot in his like side tie-in book, and now Zeb Wells is panicking, trying to move the goalposts to
they solved the plot in
it's like Dugan basically.
We'll talk about it. We'll kind of talk about it later.
You'll get into it. Yeah,
but
you guys will get into satellites. Trust me, it makes sense.
But like as far as like the main conflict of like why Maddie and Ben are going on this rampage in New York, Dugan accidentally fixed the conflict in a tie-in book. so now Wells is like, well, I've got to make Ben go out of his way to not want it.
Oh my gosh, that just
Yeah, you'll probably hear that.
You'll see what we
Just for
mean.
me.
You'll see what
okay
I
because
talk
I don't read the X-Men book. I dropped it since they stopped calling it Uncanny. Neil and I talked about this, but I'm done. I dropped every X-Men book except Wolverine. Well, and if you count Deadpool, I just started picking up Deadpool too.
Right.
Cons. We talked about how this doesn't feel like it's a big threat. It's very comedic. Venom is out of character. He's regressed. Singing
Pacing's
trees. Anything else, gang?
That's what I was saying.
How about Chasm? I mean,
Yeah.
basically as a villain. I mean, this by the way, this right now where he is right now. This is so far the best you're gonna get in this issue because it gets pretty. We'll see it by now.
Oh yeah, this is the peak. My D is not going higher. Well, that sounds bad. My D is not going. My D is going. The grade.
My D is not growing.
My grade is not getting higher. Oh my god.
Okay, so one of my cons and this applies to kind of I hate that like all of my cons that I'm saying in this issue can kind of apply to the rest of the issues we're talking about tonight. The pacing for this book is all over the goddamn place.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
all of a sudden, like Peter will. There's first the scene with Venom at the beginning of the book before the credits page, and then Peter kind of comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden Ben comes out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden Venom comes out of nowhere again. Ben leaves for no reason. Then Miss Marvel comes in out of nowhere. Then Chasm comes in out of nowhere. And then Miss Marvel gets trapped in the tie-in dimension. And then Chasm disappears again. Then Goblin Queen just comes around and stands menacingly. And then Chasm teleports in behind you. Nothing personal, kid.
It's not so much a story as it's a home base. Everybody comes into the home base and then splinters out and goes their own separate directions and whatever path you want to follow. This is like a freaking choose your own adventure book. You want to go on the Miss Marvel path? You want to go down the Venom path? You want to go down to the chasm? Oh, that sounds weird, but yeah.
Somebody,
Jonathan says, Brad, see a doctor.
You want to go read some X-Men? Sure.
Why not? Feel free. You can do that.
I've got a question, and it's not. I'm not trying to be funny. It's an honest question. Why is Madeline Pryor? Why has she, and this has gone on for years, but why is she even called Goblin Queen? Because I mean, for one, in the Marvel universe, Spider-Man's villains have co-opted the Goblin name more or less, you know, and Ashley Kafka or God, what was the other Menace or whatever.
Yeah.
Those theoretically you could have called Goblin Queen or whatever, but I mean, she's not dressed like a goblin. I mean, All's Hallow Eve looks more like a goblin than Madeline does. Why did they give her the moniker the Goblin Queen?
Okay. So
go to Neil. Neil's got it.
So in Wells's defense, Goblin Queen was around before Goblin
I know
Mommy, Ashley, and Menace.
Yeah, I know that. She didn't deserve the name. I mean, I don't get it.
So my closest explanation I can think of is just some cryptic Halloween bullshit.
Well,
There you
it's
go,
also because
JR.
she made a pact with whatever the demon Nasath or something. I think that's because
maybe they look like goblins or something. I don't know.
JR, I got an answer for you. It's X-Men shit. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough, brother.
Don't ask Chris Claremont too many questions.
I mean,
right.
Then
That's
John
probably
Byrne,
about as good an answer as any.
Because then John Byrne will get upset.
Yeah. Before we move to the next issue, we got a few comments. Gary in the Frozen, has JR been doing the Gold Goblin reviews for Satellite?
No,
he is not.
Nope.
But
he
he
hasn't
has
read
been
them.
enjoying them, haven't you, JR? I liked them.
I've been surprised. I mean, I think they've been fairly good, to be honest. And I like the idea that I like the characterization of Norman as somebody who's not. I mean, even though he doesn't have his sins, quote unquote, he's not necessarily a good person. It's like he's working overtime and over medicating to stay like he is.
Yeah.
But things like his intense competitiveness and his bad temper, and they're all still there. So I like that a little color that they've
I
brought
read
to that.
the 3 issues of Amazing yesterday, and then I read the 2 issues of Gold Goblin almost immediately, and I was just amazed how much better quality the Gold Goblin series is.
It's by
than
far
Amazing
the
Spider-Man.
highlight of this whole event. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am absolutely agree. And I've actually on my own reviews for the website, I've given it much high praise. Even this past issue, I said this was a filler issue, but it still works, is what I said. So I said that's a sad thing when that's working better than the actual storyline.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Vinkman says this feels more like a localized event compared to the original Inferno. Mr. Comics says, I don't think JR could have done this event. I do like the art, though. It fits. I don't know. JR is dark sometimes, and Ed McGuinness is very light and bright and more cartoony than John Romita.
And
I think part of it is Marcio Menyes's colors. They're very bright.
Okay.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And interestingly enough, Zeb Wells did say one time that he kind of writes his stories according to how the artist is.
Okay.
So maybe the reason why it feels like such a jokester fest is because he feels like, because Ed McGuinness is like, it seems a little bit, it seems a little bit brighter. So he's kind of like, maybe he upped the comedy for that reason.
When you think of Spider-Man Inferno issues, you've got Todd McFarlane, which is dark. You've got Mark Silvestri on the X-Men at the time.
Oh yeah.
You've got Sal Buscema on Spec. You've got who's on Amazing at that time. Todd McFarlane.
It was McFarlane. It was McFarlane. Yeah.
Vinkman says DeConstant agrees with us. Ed McGuinness's art is a pro. Gary in the Frozen has a question for JR. Didn't you rank Venom's top 3 Spider-Man villains in a previous episode?
Is he asking, didn't I call Venom one of Spider-Man's top 3 villains?
Didn't you rank Venom a top 3 Spider-Man villain in a previous episode? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Venom top 3?
Venom is not, as everyone knows, Venom's not my favorite villain. And frankly, he hasn't been much of a villain, in these. But to be honest, when you think of Spider-Man's A-list villains, go back to the movies, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and then even, and Sam Raimi, even though he wanted nothing to do with it, Avi Arad pushed Venom because he knew. And, Arad gets a lot of well-deserved grief, but people wanted to see Venom after Doc Ock, So he's part of that trifecta and part of that. And he could have been a great villain. We've talked about
been a contender.
We've talked about, how, because he's so different than the other 2, main villains or whatever that, he's just been ruined after all these years. But I think if you ask anybody who's partially familiar with Spider-Man, who his main villains are, they'll say Goblin.
And all respect to Tyler, this is the default Venom. Is it not? This is the brains. I'm your enemy. I'm going to kill you, Spider-Man, as opposed to what we have now. Would you not agree, Tyler? Oh,
I'm
you're
not
muted.
there you are. I'm not Tyler, but
no, Tyler
but he
is
plays
muted.
him on TV.
Tyler, would you?
There's my son, Tyler.
Tyler, what's your thoughts? Is this not the default Venom? You're still muted.
He's still muted.
Oh, sorry.
There you are.
Yeah. So sorry about that, but it very much is the classic Venom, but I'd almost say it's too much. They're almost like pushing it too far, because Venom did do the brains thing and all that, but I feel like he didn't do it this much in like the span of a single issue. It just feels like a lot.
I agree. Yeah, we got MJWP gives this issue a D-. Vinkman agrees with Tyler. Eddie has long grown and evolved from the 90s. This feels like a major regression. Jonathan gives it a D. Mr. Comics gave it a C+. Well, SoFlo is like JR, doesn't plan on reading any of the tie-ins.
Well, and Vinkman brought up a good point that, as a major regression, like I said, Chasm was made by editorial, custom built to fill in the Venom archetype. So it feels weird that they felt the compulsion to regress Eddie back to being 80s Venom.
Yeah, and as we'll get into the next issue, but he's no point really in this event. He's literally just a distraction. You could have had anyone.
Yeah,
there's no reason for Venom to be
problem.
Yep.
It was a distraction. It had almost nothing to do with what's going on in his own book with it.
Yeah. Vinkman gave the issue a D. Tony is watching from London, England. You're up late, sir. So thanks for watching us.
Well, actually, or it could be early.
Oh, you're right.
6 hour time.
I take that back. He's in the early morning. Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any other comments? Will the real Tyler please stand up? We have Spider-Man Plush saying, "Hey guys." Devia has a question for the panel. Do you think after this dark web event we'll have any fallout for this event, or do you think Peter is going to say, "Well, that happened. Time to move on for the next adventure." I think the latter.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how it depends on how they're going to do, how Ben's going to get treated after this, like what the end game is with this thing. Because right now it just seems like as Neil's hinted, the X-Men side has been solved. It's the other stuff that's coming in. It's the other stuff that we've left over. Yeah.
We've got a couple more comments before we're moving on. Heroing 2.0 says, "I agree. The Gold Goblin is the best part of Dark Web. I didn't expect it to do good. I'm actually enjoying it." Tevye wants to know, "Do you think Ben Reilly will die?" You mean for the 28th time? Yeah, sure. Why not? He'll come back.
Well, yeah, we can call him Ben 29, I suppose. But I don't know. It depends on if Nick Lowe wants to keep, hey, we got to keep Chasm around as the new thing. Like try to keep promoting him as the villain, the dark half of Spider-Man or something. It depends.
I think if editorial wants like a random Spider character to throw into an action shot, they've got their they've got their pick. They can afford to keep Ben as Chasm even if people don't like it.
And Tevye gave this issue an F, the lowest of all of us.
Don't worry.
He's going to get some FUs coming up. And JR, we have a voice from the past in the chat. We have Chris Linus, aka Crazy Chris. In the house. What's up, Chris, man?
The only guy who ever beat me on a prediction.
Yeah, the creator, the creator of Skittles. I think Ultimate Spider Plush had the best comment. I didn't read this issue. You're better off for it, sir. Yeah.
I might have to bust out the blues for this one.
Yeah. All right. The next issue is Mike, and you have ASM 910. Chasm and Spider-Man fighting.
Yes, folks, this is probably the match you've all been waiting for. And basically, the question is, will Dark Web get progressively better? Will Peter and Ben's rematch be the match of the century? Will we actually get answers from what happened 6 months later?
No.
And will Chi-Town's upteenth lever in this issue actually save it?
Yes.
The answer is no. No. Hell no. And maybe I don't know.
Well, a Crawlspace.
Your mileage may vary. Your mileage may vary depending on how agitated you want Pete to get. And because I want him to be agitated because it amuses me, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
real quick before you start, I kind of like what we did with comments. If you got a question or something after we wrap up the issue, I'm gonna scroll through the comments and then we'll pop them on the screen and answer them one at a time.
Right.
So go ahead, Mike.
So we start this issue off with a flashback of the day where Ben Reilly was still basically being Spider-Man. It's going to talk about Peter, and he's like, "Peter, all I want you to do is put on this helmet." And Peter's like, "Oh, you mean if I put this helmet on, I can restore your memories?" He says, "Yes." And then in the flashback, Peter crushes it, and then boots Ben into the retroactive, thick Mountain Dew goop, whatever.
That's actually my idea of a good time. I don't know why Ben's complaining.
Real quick,
jump into the Mountain Dew goo.
Real quick, Mike. If my continuity sense is tingling, Ben Angel dove into the psychoreactive.
Indeed. In fact, Peters basically tells Ben in so many words, "Oh, now you're just making crap up like JR, Ben."
Okay, I think
I haven't done anything to you except fake Mike for a couple of years.
I feel like this past run has been a wake up call for JR that like now there's continuity nerds that have taken his place, including within the comic.
Yeah, and
Ben Wells is indeed making this shit up. So go ahead.
And Ben basically responds to this. Well, that's how I remember it. And then Peter essentially says, "Well, then your memory is just as bad as this guy reviewing this issue." So, well, there.
Oh,
whoa.
No, recapping this issue, I should say. But in any case, so he says, so they basically going to get into a knockdown, drag out fight, and so it's like, well, I can't. Well, Peter's like, I can't have you threatening the city, Ben. He says, well, then we're going to have a problem, and then. That's when the fight is on, and there's a point where Peter basically webs up a scooter who is possessed, and the scooter's like, "What did I ever do to deserve this?" And he gets whacked around with this thing. They're throwing punches, throwing stuff at him, and it looks like for a moment, Spidey has an edge on the fight. But then at one point, Kaz basically, he's about Peter. The Spidey picks up like a basically looks like a parking meter, and is about to hit Ben in the back. But there is a little wrinkle here because Ben's new chasm powers, not only he still has spider sense, and not only can his spider sense tingle himself, it can also tingle others.
His Spidey sense can do the bad touch.
His spider sense can tingle himself. Well, Tyler, I don't know. That may be the quote of the night. I mean, it not only pleases. Never mind.
Yeah.
No,
you get it. Yes, but in any case, but specifically, it acts as kind of like the little squiggly lines can act like a force field to kind of protect himself.
No, they're stabbing him.
Yeah. And then speaking of stabs, Ben's like, "Hey, I borrowed this trick from back when you were still the Cosmic Spider-Man. He can make stuff out of your webbing." Well, he then shoots his webbing out and basically makes like blades and knives and stuff and axes and starts trying to hack at Peter with this thing. And he starts going to town on him. And while this fight is just starting to get somewhat good, we go over to see. Well, let me check out what the Goblin.
What are the X-Men up to?
Yeah, what is Maddie and Venom and
the writer essentially goes
our new favorite character Hallows Eve is doing, and we actually get a taste of see how Hallows Eve's powers work. So basically, anytime she puts a mask on, she becomes that person. And in this case, she puts on the mask of basically Frankenstein's monster, a la the Frankenstein's monster, and so she turns into the Frankenstein's monster. And what does she do with this? She basically boots Venom in the back and just kind of like, hey, I'm going to sling you over to where the X-Men's treehouse is. So basically he can create a distraction. So then he could just, I guess after that, then Hallows Eve will then go inside the treehouse to retrieve what Maddie needs to get, which is basically the stored memories of Jean Grey, which we'll basically have to explore in one of the X-Men tie-ins, which we'll not explore in this issue. So
I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Sneak peek of satellites. Anyway, back to the stuff we sort of care about with Ben and Peter fighting and everything like this.
Being generous.
So so then basically he even reminds, of course, that this issue came out Christmas, and he's basically Peter gets the upper hand and everything, and then Ben's like, oh yeah, well I got another trick, and he takes out looks like a Christmas tree ornament, or looks like it's basically a gold ball, no relation to gold balls. It's another X-Men character, but he basically takes this thing out, and it's like basically does this thing like if you've ever seen the movie Phantasm, it's basically that. So the little blade pops out, kind of almost like nearly lands in between Peter's
his web
where
shooter.
Basically it's strategically placed in between his legs. Let's put it that way. And then as it lands, pops out another thing where basically it looks like a little spinning wheel of whatever. And it shows him that Jonah and Robbie are in limbo. So essentially, because what Ben did was he went to the Bugle. He basically decided, I took Jonah and Robbie to limbo and everybody trapped him there. And then Peter is like, well, get him out of there. And he's like, and Ben's like, well, no, I can't. They're stuck there and everything like this. And for whatever reason, maybe because Peter thinks Spidey thinks he's in one of an MCU movie, he takes off his mask. And so he could just shout at Ben and basically says, well, no, you got to get him out of this. And Peter's like, well, I can't. Ben's like, I can't. Well, then take me to limbo. And Ben's like, oh, are you sure that's what you want? And he goes, yes. Okay, fine. And then this Cthulhu-like octopus tentacle comes out of the ground and basically grabs Peter, because essentially Ben says, yeah, part of this magic, the way this thing works is because it's magic. And basically says that, that you have to willingly go to limbo in order to go to limbo. And so basically grabs Peter and drags him down. And he says, and Peter's like, this is not over, Ben. And Ben's like, oh yeah, it seems over to me. Don't worry, I'll be down shortly. And he's like, I'm just gonna bask in the glory that I won, even though it was totally undeserved, but oh well. And then Peter wakes up to find himself basically someone tells him, Parker, you're late. And he finds that he's basically in a demonized version of the Daily Bugle, and basically surrounded by office workers or demons, and essentially told to get to work. And
Oh, he's in hell, just like me. So you
yes,
can make
pretty much. Just like we're all at this moment, folks. And it's only going to get worse for Deer because my grade is a D.
Okay.
And that's not even going to be the lowest grade for tonight, folks. So there you go.
Hey, Mike, you forgot something. Crawlspacers in the letter pages.
I did mention Breeder's letter in the opening there, and it is very
Chi-Town in the
letter.
house.
Oh yes, yes. And for once again, the upteam, congratulations, Peter, aka Chi-Town, for getting published once again. I think you set a new record. For anyone in the crawl space who's actually gotten a letters trading.
I do think it is kind of funny that he put out his I think MJ's a genie theory on main, and it was completely wrong. So I just think it's kind of funny that he just I'm gonna guess this publicly.
So we have a D minus out of Mike?
A G. It's a D. It's not going to be the lowest, but it's not going to be the lowest grade for tonight. I'm saving that for later.
Okay, so Ryan, what do you got?
I believe it or not gave this a C minus.
C minus. Tyler,
I think it was a D.
A D. Okay. And Neil,
D plus.
JR,
D plus.
F out of me.
Whoa!
Hated it.
Even with the Guinness art.
Yeah, the art is not saving it. This is ridiculous. Yes, I was. I was personally offended because this is shit. Absolute shit.
Okay,
this is a poorly executed. Oh, that's not it. We'll get to cons. Hold on, Mike. I want to hear pros.
Okay, one.
Shit. Did I mention
I'll do one pro that's not an art. That's not art related.
Okay.
I kind of liked Ben's chasm powers in this, even though I hate the whole concept of him being a villain. I do think those are kind of cool. I do like the idea that the Spider Sense was actually basically had offensive capabilities there. I think that was a little cool. I wish it was on a cooler, better character.
I was just going to say it'd be cooler on a better character. Or an original concept, not one from the 90s who people love, Ben Reilly.
Oh yeah.
And I wish he'd done it. I wish he'd done it more because for whatever reason, after the cutaway to whatever Janine and Maddie are doing, he just starts, "Oh, hey, I've got magic stuff now. Have a ball."
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It makes no sense.
But I do like the idea that he can form weapons out of webbing and uses spider sense as a weapon.
And that was something when Spider-Man had cosmic powers he could actually do. Now basically makes fists out. Remember you guys, I'm sure some of you guys who basically you make fists out of webbing, you make another thing, but the idea of having an evil Spider-Man basically make that kind of stuff out of with knives and everything like this. I mean, again, it would be great on a character
on a different
that was
character.
way better like this, and certainly not.
How about you call it Chasm and you don't tell me who the identity is, and it's not Ben Reilly?
Right? Yeah.
Right. That would be a good one to do that one.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think the Chasm concept of the visual could have worked on anybody but Ben Reilly. Why create Ben Reilly? Why don't we call it Lance Bannon? Why don't we break? Oh, he's sorry.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Why don't we make it Facade?
What?
Because that's what this character is, a facade.
Or if you really wanted to do something, well, then if you did Harry, there'll be a repeat of what happened with
Kindred.
I agree. The art, again, not bad. That's a pro, right, Mike?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any other pros?
That's it.
Okay.
I've got kind of a pro.
Okay.
I think this issue was much better paced than issue 15. It didn't force itself to cut away every 10 seconds to a new character doing a new thing. It was able to kind of focus more on Peter and Ben's fight, even if it was not a good fight. It was at least much more focused and had a B plot, which was just, hey, go read Venom. Yeah. That's it. But other than that, I think that it was much better paced and more tonally consistent than the last issue.
But if you read issue 1 to what are these? 14 or 15?
This is 16.
How does this book read in a marathon, in a binge? You've got
I wouldn't know.
you got street level action happening with Tombstone. You've got the Hobgoblin arc happening. And then we hang a hard right and we go down to hell with Ben Reilly.
Literally.
And we have scooters talking. We have singing Christmas trees. This is anything but grounded from the previous 12 we've had. This is so far from what I want in a Spider-Man book. It's not even funny. I was being a Zeb Wells apologetic person for the first 12, but this is the same, whatever the hell, the Chris Pachalo thing from Brand New Day that I hated from him. And he's coming back.
Which one?
Yeah.
Shatter.
Yeah.
Shatter the
Screaming,
Mind
what
God.
is
Weber?
Oh, the Mind God for the
Mayan
art.
Trickster
Okay.
God.
the Mayan Trickster.
Weber.
I hated that story. But man, this is tonally the book. The Amazing Spider-Man is all over the place, and the last few issues not for the better. I'm on the negatives. I apologize. JR, you got any pros out of this?
Not a one.
Okay, Ryan, that hasn't been mentioned.
Oh well. Besides that, it's like I agree. The reason my grade was higher was because of the pace. Even the parts where we like break away and Venom, we're gonna kick you to the treehouse. It actually felt like it was in sequence. Like, oh, what are they gonna go do? I'm kind of interested in it. Oh, we're back to this is actually it. That's why I give it such a much higher grade. Because of the pacing, and actually make you think, I am kind of wondering what that is. And you know what? I am reading that book, so I'm going to see how that all closes together. So the pacing and even the story beats were much better paced than the previous issue. But there were several times I felt like this was the Roadrunner episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch TV series where she couldn't say "I love you," and she ended up turning into a cartoon created by John Thing. And then we have the Scooter talking, and he's actually swearing. And I said, and now we're in GoBots, and now we're in Lou. Sometimes I'm like, Zeb, whatever time you wake in the morning, please stop watching Cartoon Network, because I can tell when you watch Cartoon Network and all of a sudden it's in your comic. Because there's even a thing in the Hobgoblin, he's showing the thing and here's baby Winston. Also, I'm like, wait, I saw that on a cartoon one time years ago that my son is watching on YouTube. Wait a minute. So it's like
the singing trees and the singing scooters and that kind of stuff just takes me out. I can suspend disbelief of a man that can crawl up walls, has spider sense, but singing trees and singing stuff like singing mailboxes. Like,
and Brad, I don't mean to admit that, but I remember back in the free comic book issue that introduced the evil talking demonic mailbox.
Right.
And here in this storyline, everybody sees everything demonic and evil and eating things and talking. And then it was like, well, how dare you touch something of the USPS phone thing? I didn't see any, mailbox. You mean versus the guy that was right there saying, I saw it. I said, well, I didn't see it.
Yeah. Like, shouldn't like the Ghostbusters show up and just take these things out? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
we got Ecto Cooler. I mean, we might as well have the Ghostbusters.
Like, Slimer is going to show up at some point in this stuff. This is not grounded.
What do you mean? He's right there. His name's Ben Reilly. Reactive cool.
Oh man, back off, man. That's what Peter should say. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. Oh my god. Anyway, it's just rough.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Any other pros before we move on to the cons with Mike? Okay, cons with Mike. Take it, Mike.
It's with Mike.
Here's the thing. Ben Reilly as a villain just gets progressively worse and worse every part of this series. I mean,
yes.
I think what Wells was trying to go for was like, hey, Spider-Man makes lame jokes as a hero. If he was evil, he'd also make lame jokes as a villain. Well, it doesn't really work that way. And that's it. It just because, and again, I think it just the thing. Part of it is because once you know what Ben's quote unquote plan is, it even gets kind of dumber. Like the whole idea, like
from the first page, it was like this isn't what happened, Ben. I don't care. I got to move the plot.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care. I have no reasoning. It's just I want to kill you just cause reasons.
Well, it's not even that, and that's the thing. He doesn't actually want to kill Peter because he still needs his memories. But then he tries to kill him anyway, and then I'm not going to do it. But it's
like the apple, Peter.
Yeah, and I think again, it's just like the thing about, and also what's so stupid about this is because Peter could easily try to say, like he tries to say, oh, that's not what happened, or everything like this and stuff, and try to like. I mean, but then after he tries to like, okay, fine, I'm just going to go ahead and take you down everything like this because you're trying to do destroy my city and everything like this, and doesn't try to kind of figure out like, again, it's just basically let's have a fight because we have to have one.
Yes, and you can't really root for the villain, which a good villain you can see their side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
can you not?
Which you can't. You can't in this
absolutely.
At all.
But I was talking about last issue where Ben is like. he's just too quippy. Like he's like an MCU character, and like I said, it's because Zeb Wells is an MCU writer. But Ben I can't relate to him because like the tragedy of like losing your identity, like something that's actually kind of an interesting concept of like losing your identity. One, the plot is very selective with which memories Ben has or does not have.
Yeah.
Simply to move the plot along. But also he's too there's a word for it. Cool. He's too quippy. He's too quippy for me to relate to him.
He's edgy and dark. That's the thing, because that's
Ow! I cut myself on the edge.
Yeah.
Can you compare this character that was introduced in the Lost Years, the grounded, beaten down clone that was on a motorcycle with a long beard, fall in love on the road with Janine, to this cartoon character? It's a totally different character. And there's nothing that bridges the two, mainly because JMD Mateus was writing a good story back then. And you have this with talking mailboxes and talking scooters, and it just doesn't seem like the same universe. And and it would be so much easier to call this guy anybody but Ben Reilly, because he's not the Ben Reilly that the fans loved in the 90s. I kind of liked him back in the 90s too. I didn't like the Clone Saga that much, but I was like, Ben's an okay character. I get it. But I'm done with clones. JR, are you done with clones? I'm so tired of them. God.
Probably not as much as George is, but
it's such a
we should have had George make a special appearance. He would have loved these.
I'm channeling him right now. I gave the damn book an F.
He wouldn't have enjoyed this. He would have thrown a fit and left before we even reviewed issue 15.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would not have done any of this.
I'm also kind of interested in what. I was also kind of interested in Tyler's, what his reaction was to the brief appearance of Venom, basically just like, hey, we're just going to give him little of the boot and just
he's the football for Charlie Brown to kick.
Oh yeah,
it's once again he's just banished to the tie-in dimension. It's just the only reason he's in
go back to your solo.
Yeah, go back to. He was literally kicked off panel into his own.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what happened. I got a con. It's kind of related to that. Is that Maddie and Janine, especially Janine, because at least Maddie's doing something off in the X-Men time. We'll get to that later. They're doing nothing. You're just standing there looking evil.
Janine goes with him to the tie-in dimension.
But Maddie just comes in like at the last minute in the last issue. She just goes, "Oh, I'm evil, by the way. I look like Jean Grey, but I'm evil." And then in this issue, "Oh, I'm evil. Let's go raid the treehouse."
And here's the thing. Her power thing, basically like putting on the mask and turning into like monsters.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, this is just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to turn to Boris Karloff Frankenstein's monster. I mean, if we get into the tie-in, it's actually there's a cooler version of how she does that in that book than it does in this book.
Yeah.
So it's just like, which is again.
So hypothetically, she could put on a Spider-Man mask and be Spider-Man. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so she could put on she could pick on a Tickle Me Elmo and be a Muppet.
Yeah,
she could put on Magneto's helmet and have his persecution complex.
So she's Mystique with masks.
Whatever mask,
but the actual powers included,
becomes that person. Like basically, but they're all monster masks and everything. So
they're monster. Do they have to be monsters? They can't be Elmo.
I think she's got her collection of masks. So
right,
they're monsters that represent what she has gone through in her life. What she has felt like. The Frankenstein's the thing. When they said she was a monster, here she is a monster. When they felt she was a life sucker, which her father said was when he was abusive to her, she becomes a vampire. That's basically how it all works.
Now, Brad, they are not Brad. They are metaphors. I know that kind of goes over your head, but but there is at least
could she be Chucky?
Yes, technically.
Could she be Ghostface?
She stabbed her dad in self-defense.
Okay, could she be Ghostface?
She could be Ghostface.
Could she be William Shatner as Michael Myers?
Probably so. Yes,
okay.
If she's got a
Halloween could she be Neve Campbell as Final Girl?
Could she be a Final Girl? Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. Okay, do we like that power set, Mystique with monsters?
I kind of like it. It's not like new, but I think the way McGinnis visualizes it is interesting. Like she gets the arms and the legs and the head, but the rest of her is still her.
Yeah,
I think it kind of reminds me of like Sync from the X-Men, who's actually on the X-Men team right now.
Sync was Cannonball's sister, right?
No, that's Arrow. That's Arrow.
Sink is another guy who basically
Sink is from
kind
Gen
of like
X.
Rogue.
Who's the girl
except
that sheds her skin?
That's
Husk.
Husk.
Husk. That's what I'm
Husk,
thinking of.
thank you.
God.
Sink is kind of like Rogue. In the
JR,
sense, like,
sorry,
he
I'm
doesn't have to
talking
protect
X-Men.
people in order
These
to
are
have
no, I mean these are horrible villains. I mean they're not even because I didn't know who Husk was, but I was thinking of Marrow. You know, I mean
These are
Bones
heroes,
Royale.
though.
Marrow.
He's bad to the bone.
Husk and Sink are
He's bad
heroes,
to the
though.
bone. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's
Ha
like
ha ha.
literally they are running out of heroes and villains in the X-Men, and they're just creating the most repulsive characters.
He's been here for years, though.
Spider-Man's getting to him. I like what Kieran the Frozen. Any pros, JR? Not a one.
Not one.
Any other cons?
Well,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
I mean,
JR.
My big con, of course, is that in none of this am I buying Ben Reilly as a villain.
Absolutely.
Because
I agree.
he essentially is still Peter Parker, and you know, okay, yeah, maybe there's been obviously, he's been killed 28 times or whatever, but I mean, when you think of all the things Peter's gone through in his life, having, his Gwen murdered in front of him, losing Harry like he did. I mean, Peter has been tortured, was isolated and tortured mentally for weeks by Norman Osborn, and as he tried to brainwash him. His memory's been taken over, like with, when Doc Ock took him over back years and years ago, and he still worked himself out of that. I mean, even if his memories were shattered and I don't see this making Ben a villain. I just don't.
Well,
I mean,
it did Kane. Kane became a villain.
Well, Kane was. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say Kane. Kane was literally dying. Everything was. I mean, literally at the point his body and mind. The way I figured, his body and mind were just rotting. He was a failed first clone. I mean, it's a good point. And ultimately he did do some altruistic Peter Parker things. I mean, after all, didn't he sacrifice himself in one of those Craven's idiotic hunts?
Grim Hunt.
Yeah.
Kane never attacked a city with demons. So
Actually, JR brought up a good point that like he can't relate to Ben Reilly as a villain, and I kind of touched on that earlier, that like Wells doesn't know what he wants to do with Ben as far as tone, because
Marvel,
like I said,
in general doesn't know.
Let me expand on this. That like at the end of Beyond, like they make a big deal out of like the tragedy of Ben Reilly becoming like losing his identity and his sense of self, and that expanded into issue 14, where like he's so desperate to get his sense of self back that he's willing to go, hey Peter, eat this apple, it'll take your soul and give it to me, nothing bad will happen though, I promise. But in this issue, like I said, the plot dictates what memories Ben does or doesn't have, and so it feels like Wells's irreverence towards the tone of the book makes it hard to either root for Ben or take his tragedy seriously.
He's a joke.
Like, no, psychoreactive goo.
He's a joke.
Well, going back to the point you were making, because I mean, as far as the tragedy of Ben Reilly, we've had that story told. Yeah. I mean, you were talking about, Neil, you were talking about how, he's lost his sense of self, and well, he did during the Clone Saga. I mean, when he thought he was a clone, but then he wasn't, but then he became, whatever. But that's what he was. He was out there alone. He'd been divorced from the life he had, and he was out trying to find his sense of self and his purpose in life. And it's like, he's already been through this, and he didn't turn into a stupid ass purple wearing
people eater.
No, I agree, JR. I'm just describing like the step A that Wells had at the end of Beyond to get to where we are now, and why it's so off.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but you're illustrating just what a bad job he's doing, because he's ignoring that this story has been told before in a different way. I won't say a better way, but a different way.
It's better.
Even when Ben was the Jackal in the Clone Conspiracy and how bad that story was, at least Slott actually gave him a motivation that sort of made sense. Like he's like,
oh, I'm insane.
I was trying to help. I wasn't trying to like basically.
What was his motivation for that? Refresh me.
His motivation was he wanted to bring back people that was basically who have died, like all the people that he.
Yeah, he wanted to make everybody. That's right. And he dug up Uncle Ben's grave, which was something you don't do, and that felt like the stakes. And I'm not a Slott fan, but And this was even asked by Gary in the Frozen, which one's better? I prefer Clone Conspiracy from years ago as opposed to this.
I think design wise, I like Chasm more just because he fits the spider archetype, albeit barely. But I just cannot dig him as I'm wearing a red suit with an Anubis mask. That's just kind of stupid.
With a voice changer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe put the Chasm suit on Clone Conspiracy. We got a better story.
I get why he did it for Clone Conspiracy because it's like a bit because Ben's front for it was like a company called New You?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get why he wore the costume. I just couldn't get into it.
By the way, there's speaking of JR, you reminded me of something that could also be both a pro and a con. The con is that Ben Reilly actually quotes Kane's line like, "I have all the power but none of the responsibility."
Yeah.
That was also Otto's catchphase too.
Yeah. And the pro is that Kane is nowhere to be seen in this mess.
Good.
He's better off for it. Again,
Yes, exactly.
better off for it. We're going to do
Absolutely.
some comments unless anybody has any more cons.
I was just gonna add on to Mike's good comment that like the further Kane stays away from being remembered, the better off he is. It's like Silk. The less
Kane might be watching. So
Right.
there's that.
Yeah, that's an idea.
he sees it on the TV, turns it off. I'm bored.
He's spared from this. Okay, I don't
Absolutely.
like. In Beyond,
Leave Kane alone, free Kane.
in Beyond, I was like, come on, Kane should be dealing with. But now I want Kane as far away from this as possible.
Get away, Kane. Get on the road, baby. Mary, our friend Mary says it's a strange time when Kane has become a better and more popular Scarlet Spider than Ben Reilly.
I don't think it's strange because there was during Yost's run, people really liked him as Scarlet Spider, and I think
I
thought
it was great then. Even the New Warriors, as bad as it was very still consistent. And they even said like, "Oh, I get you. We had a Scarlet Spider ourselves." Like, well, that was him. This is me. And you know what? I don't give a damn. Was his exact words. And everybody's like, "Ooh, whoa." You know.
And we have our friend Bruce, our Crawlspacer Bruce, who is mentioned in the next issue in the letters pages. He says, "I can't get invested in Ben Reilly at all. He's flipped from hero to bad guy more than some WWE wrestlers." It's true.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Saudis will love him.
Crazy Chris says I gotta hop off, but it's nice peeking in. Can't wait to listen to the recorded full episode. So see you, Crazy Chris.
Nice to see you again, Chris.
Mr. Comic says when this series was grounded, it was amazing. Right now, the tone is the same as Spencer, and I'd take Spencer over Wells at this point.
And I see not necessarily a lot of Spencer's DNA in this, but part of the reason Spencer's run kind of fell apart at the end was because of the irreverence and like unwillingness to like commit to anything. And I see a lot of that in Wells's run, but on a much faster scale.
MJWP, the rumor going around, Ben was supposed to die. Wells wanted a symbiote type antagonist. He couldn't have Venom, so they compromised on turning Ben into the antagonist and giving him Venom-like powers.
Well, they got Venom back, so what was the point of that?
I've heard that rumor too.
And you know, the actual Venom book has been using the tie-in to actually move the plot along too. So you know, there's that also.
Base viewing.
Radiac says, Radiac 55 says, let's not forget the event started with a debt collector being revealed as a killer, then sacrificed, and now we have a talking bed with the hots for JJJ.
Okay, well, I'll admit I thought that was funny.
Okay,
that's in the next issue though.
Yeah.
Venkman says Brad's coming around that Wells' run is crap. Well, the first 12 are all right. This one, not so much.
My apathy is reaching new heights.
Matt Bird says, here's a question of the many Clone Saga stories, the 70s and 90s, whatever the slot stuff was, or even this currently, which one holds up best story structure-wise? 70s.
70s was like a couple issues.
Exactly.
I agree. And I've reread the 70s as it happened just before I was born. And I was like saying, I've read it in past and said, this was a much better Clone Saga.
Yeah. Heroing says, I'm glad I didn't read these issues again. I'm not missing out on much, but do y'all think it'd be worth picking up the flashback arc coming up? I feel uninterested, and that'll be disappointing.
Oh, no. It depends on how that's going to be executed, but I mean, I have theories of like based on what has happened in like the Mary Jane and Black Cat tie-in. Like basically, there's a line of dialogue that Mary Jane says in there that kind of hints maybe what was going on. Who knows about the 6 months?
I'm glad that we're finally going to get an answer in what, April?
March
or
April.
Well, we're gonna start getting the answer in March.
Yeah, we're gonna start getting.
We're gonna throw you a bone in our April, we got to get through this
And
crap.
I'll be
or whatever it
totally
is.
honest. After Dark Web, like because of the next issue we're going to review, I think I'm going to be done with the Dodson issue with the Black Cat.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm done at the end of Dark Web finale.
Don't you think the Dodson stuff is filler?
Yeah, but I like Dodson art. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
Gary in the Frozen says, "Damn, Brad getting rough on this issue. I gave it an F. I did." Mr. Comics gave the issue a B. MJWP gave it a D minus. Number one Marvel fan said, "Weird story for sure." Jonathan gave it a D minus. Tevia says, "That fight makes no sense whatever. I give this issue a big F." Welcome to the party, pal. Wow, this is stupid. Heroing. Hey, JR, on a side note, did you read any Jason Aaron's new Punisher series? I know the answer to that.
Imagine reading a Jason Aaron series.
Now, I will defend the Jason Aaron series. I like it. I like the Punisher. I am hot and cold with Aaron. I like his Ghost Rider. I like some of his Wolverine. I loved his Thor. I loathe his Hulk. I like his Punisher. His Avengers. Oof.
It's almost over for
Is that why you hate Cates' run? Is that why you hate Cates' Hulk run? Because it's just Aaron's run, but with extra steps?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't had a good run on Hulk since Paul Jenkins in the 2000s.
What about Immortal?
Al Ewing,
Immortal Hulk.
A little bit.
I was like,
Immortal Hulk. I apologize.
Did you just forget the last 3 years?
Yeah, I was like,
and I'm not over
years.
The more I think back on Immortal Hulk, I like the front half more than the back half. Issue 25 is unreadable. Immortal Hulk.
Oh, I loved issue 25.
I hated it.
Brad
Bankman gave it a C minus. Let's see. We got new comments at the bottom. Fantastic Four is pretty good. Zero says Ben saying, quote, "All of the power, no of the responsibility," makes most sense because the whole point is that he doesn't even remember the responsibility.
That's why.
While in Kane's case, he was never implanted with Pete's memes.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying. Is that the plot is incredibly selective with when or what memories Ben has.
Who then counters it, say, "I don't remember that part." Wait, you just said that. Oh, did I? It's kind of foggy. It's like you changing per panel.
Wells might be saying, "Well, but don't you see that the Ben as Chasm is like the Joker? He's basically, if he has to have a pass, it's multiple choice."
And he did fall into a vat of Mountain Dew goo like the Joker. So there you go.
Fell into a vat of Mountain Dew yogurt.
And he wears purple and green, just like the Joker does.
Yeah. All right. Our last issue of this episode, I'm handing to the master. JR.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Number 17. 9/11, if you will.
No.
Talk about a cataclysmic 9/11.
Ooh, I got my sling ring ready to go here.
God. All right, JR, all you, sir.
Oh, I can't. I was going to try, but I can't read it. Like I can't read.
What were you gonna do?
You heard it here first, folks. JR can't read.
I was gonna. Well, no, Brad can't read or talk or whatever. But it was just I was gonna try to do this during the whole.
I can't see a damn thing, can you?
Then I realized I really can't see. It's like, boy, that would have been
so much for you being
worked.
cool. There was
really. I'm just always thwarted in my plans to be cool. You know, just like Norman is always thwarted in his evil plans. I'm always thwarted in my cool plans.
By the way, Mary is excited. JR, she says JR is bringing the recrap into the house.
Do we get the air horn?
The air horn? Yeah, I got the air horn.
Jonathan says, "Let the hate flow through you, JR."
Yeah, I'd like to apologize in advance for you having to review this issue specifically.
Oh,
yeah, I have to agree with this.
You get to see the Battletoad.
All right, JR, you have the floor. Take me through this turd.
All right. The story starts out. In a suburban house. A man has just gotten married, and oh, wait a minute, that's my version of hell, not his. So okay, but anyway, we're in Peter Parker's hell or whatever. So anyway, we got a ripoff from the Suicide Squad. talking to some really creepy demon that I don't know what purpose he serves, but he's going to keep showing up. Anyway, so the super shark wants to bite his head off, and Peter's like, oh god, I told you not to bite heads off or whatever. I mean, come on, let's not do that. And the shark attacks him. Peter knocks him for a loop or whatever, and then he goes into the building to work. Meanwhile, creepy demon here just makes me shudder. He's obviously in love with Peter.
It looks like a Mars Attacks alien.
I mean, Parker, Pete, man, it just, it's like, where's, I need to find that gallery owner in San Francisco that hosed off the homeless woman in front. It's like to be clean. So anyway, so we get to the Daily Bugle, and J. Jonah Jameson is trying to make the most of it. I want to tell everyone to, and of course the demons aren't having any truck with it. Like, Matter, you're supposed to be Matter. And then they come up and they gang up on him, and
say the line, Bart.
I want pics of Spider-Man. No, you're supposed to say tasty pics of Spider-Man. I want tasty pics of Spider-Man. And Peter's going, I'm going to get you for this, Ben. That could have been funny. But,
they literally do a say the line, Bart in there.
That's exactly it. Say the line, Bart. Yeah.
Whereas, man. I'm not even so sure. Say the line, Bart. I'm not even so sure I get that, to be honest. Where's that from?
It's a classic Simpsons.
I didn't do it. Kid.
Oh
yeah.
Oh.
Yay!
Yeah, I stopped watching Simpsons around season 5, I think. Holy cow!
Oh wow, everyone else did too.
Yeah. So, but anyway, and then he runs into pseudo Vin Riley, who, by the way, green and purple is Norman's motif as well. So it's. And he offers him he says, oh, Peter, I want you to take a bite of what looks like, what's looked like a dried up booger ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you're trying to tempt somebody to eat something, why not hey, how about this strawberry ice cream cone? Or hey, what about this deluxe Chicago pan pizza? But no, it's a booger ball. Of course he's not going to take a bite of it. I mean, to have some drama, the hero has to have some drama. You got to think the hero might be tempted, but this is entirely unappetizing, both literally and metaphorically.
Well, they're going for the Garden of Eden, aren't they? I mean,
but it ain't working.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't make that connection. I just thought it was a tree.
Oh, I did.
If they were going to do a Garden of Eden, then it should have been a talking snake. I mean, it should, or like Chasm should have generated a talking snake or something. I mean, it's just kind of. Anyway, it's dumb. I mean, it's dumb because it's like it's not even remote. You want somebody to do something, but you don't make it even remotely appetizing. Of course, the hero's going to turn it down. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, now we go back to some more crazy demons, and they're experimenting on one of their own, because this is going to lead into something a little bit later on. And they turn him into a mutated version of the Scorpion, and then Madeline Pryor just says, I am bored with this shit already.
Back to the X-Men book.
Let's just wrap this up in X-Men.
I mean, it's like she pops in. She
hell all to do with it.
She's serving no purpose in these stories whatsoever.
None.
No purpose. It's like side commentary, more
Even
or less.
I don't know why she's here.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like I would rather see the two old guys heckling Fozzie Bear from the Muppet Show. I'd rather see them commenting on the action than these two.
Statler and Waldorf in hell.
Yeah. No, that would be funnier than this. This isn't even. And going back to how this all started, I mean, these were just two characters that were whining about how people have been mean to them. I mean,
there's Statler and Waldorf.
They were just whining. There's no, you should talk about lack of motivations. It was just like a pity party. I mean, you didn't feel that these were two characters that had serious harm done to them, and were taking it out on the world in their anger. It was just, a couple of millennial whiners is what it looked like.
Look at this panel. Hey, look at that bear. Look at that frog. This balcony seat, I tell you.
So again, well, anyway, so we see that the demon that was turned into Scorpion, he's part of a larger group, and I guess this is a call back to the Spider-Man cartoon, the Insidious Six, because the networks didn't, or Fox Network or whoever was making.
They were scared of the word sinister.
Yeah,
Sinister.
They were afraid of the word. Yes.
I don't think a 3-year-old is afraid of the word sinister. You know, I mean, it's like,
How did they have Mr. Sinister on the X-Men cartoon and not say the word sinister?
well, they probably just called him Mr. Insidious, right?
They probably called him. They probably called him Mr. Essex or Mr.
Oh yeah, they probably just called him Nathaniel or Essex or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's because half of the Fox people at that time and the kids actually didn't even know X-Men. They just said, "Oh yeah, X-Men, Cyclops, Wolverine," and then they're like, "Mr. Sinister." They were like, "What?"
Check out the Goblin demon here, JR.
Yeah,
Actually,
the grave
The
goblin,
Grave
Dr.
Goblin.
Octoball. Those two actually are kind of amusing, but the rest of them are just, Kraken the Hunter, the Rhino Lazaro. They're not. I mean, that's it. They're not really all of these villains. You should be saying, "Oh, these are all cool." I mean, come on. If you're going to have a joke, let's go all the way. Let's make it really fun.
We should have dragged on George to look at Stegron Lizard.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Well, actually, I'm surprised that Wizards of the Coast, who makes Dungeons and Dragons, didn't sue Marvel over the fact that they're using it. Looks like a beholder.
Looks like the Beholder. Yes.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Beholder. He's the
Dungeons and
most
Dragons
creature from Dungeons and Dragons, which is
Dr. Octoball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
If you look at Triceratops, he actually looks like the Bone Dragon.
Yeah.
How much you want to bet Ed McGuinness just cracked open the 5e guidebook and was like, "Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that."
All right, JR, keep taking us through
Keep going. But anyway, as these insidious villains are about to descend upon our hero, then creepy demon, like creepy pedophile demon or something. I don't know.
I didn't get that from it, but
it's like,
God.
well, I can't say the word I wanted to use. I wanted to make I wanted to allude to something else, but I know that now I'd get canceled if I did. But he just, score one for Parker Man, and then and Madeline.
Look at Statler and Waldorf up
and
there.
Madeline goes, "This is not a great use of my time." Neither
It has an asterisk.
I love even Ben's like, "I'm sorry, Maddie. I'm gonna need someone playing Peter."
God.
I mean, when even the villains have lost interest in their own scheme.
True.
It's like
So true.
let's go to Starbucks or something. I mean, it's like
So there's one in limbo.
So creepy little pedophile bald demon or whatever, realizes he's in over his head, and so he runs away saying, "Parker Man lives to fight another day."
Is he on cocaine? Look at his eyes.
He looks like vermin.
He does.
He
Yeah.
looks like vermin.
He looks like a moloid.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I think he looks like more like a moloid. Yeah.
Okay, here it comes, JR. I want to hear this part. What happens next with Jameson?
Oh, well, it's kind of funny because in Spider history, actually, no, because this is still January and we're not going to talk. So in a future Spider history in March, I predict that we're going to have a scene of Jonah sitting on a bed and Marla Madison just kind of like, sitting on the side and showing off the goods and, little heart. I mean, I'm not lying about this, am I, Brad?
No, you'll see it in March. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it in my little hearts above Jonah's head or whatever.
But
anyway, but this is hell. So, Jonah walks in and he thinks he's gonna take some get a rest, but it's like, demon Zsa Zsa Gabor saying, "Go." I can't even do it. Come to bed, Jonah.
God, I could have gone my whole life without hearing JR do that impression.
I think I prefer to stand. You can't stand up on you.
I do like Jonah's reply. Like, I'm gonna try.
Yeah, exactly.
My God.
We'll see about that.
I will say that I did enjoy that. I did kind of enjoy that gag.
So weird.
And then Peter sees the talking bed.
Yeah. So anyway, Peter's crawling around, and he says, "Jonah, I got a plan. We just gotta send these guys to the real New York, and maybe we can tag along for the ride. But watch for my signal." All right. Anyway, but then creepy pedo demon, is met by I guess son of Mephisto
a
or
bitch.
whatever. 'cause it talks about-
It's the son of the Minotaur from Thor comics.
Yeah, that's what I
don't
thought
know.
was
Oh my
a Minotaur.
yeah, but he talks about his
Apparently
dad.
this
So I'm
is
assuming
actually
if he's a demon,
established
if he,
Marvel character.
yeah, I
I don't
think
care.
doesn't he
Yeah.
talk about his dad? But either way, I'm going to end up being Dad's favorite. So I got to assume that if he's a demon and he's talking about his father, he's talking about Mephisto or something. But anyway, but then he says he says he makes a reference to Venom, which of course, remember this guy from Venom number 13? Oh hell no, I didn't read that.
I wish I didn't.
I wish I didn't. That's the biggest Venom fan.
So he rips off little pedo Peter's
Pedo.
he rips off little pedo Peter's shirt and turns it into I don't know, turns it into what looks like a yet another symbiote version. And then of course Jonah now's getting with the plan. Jonah's getting with the plan now, because all right guys, I've got a red hot story, and this is serious. Apparently some demons have been allowed to go to the real New York City, and they're hunting humans, making them scream, making them cry. Word is that's all these humans do: scream and cry and bleed. Good thing that's not appealing to us. Well, of course, that's just the thing the demons want. Well, golly, that shit sounds a hell of a lot better than what we're doing here.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. And Jonah says, well, I need some brave reporters to shine a light on this injustice. So of course, the whole idea of munching on chewy humans is a bit too much to resist. And then of course Spider-Man comes through the window and see Robbie's here. So Peter has to.
Brad, look, web pits. You like those?
Yeah, I know the web pits look good.
I was joking.
Yeah, but this is hell, right? So. I was about to say, somebody was saying the Mountain Dew goo was Brad's favorite place to sit. And I was thinking, I thought that was a black cat. Well, I thought that was in a bed of tub of milk with a black cat. But anyway,
either one's not a bad night.
Yeah. So anyway, so Spider-Man comes through and it's like Peter wasn't able to make it, so he sent me. It's like, my
give me a free
God. It's like he's still trying to gaslight Robbie after all these years.
Even in hell.
Yeah.
This is Robbie. This is Robbie
Peter,
hell.
It's like so Spider-Man knows. Robbie knows that Peter is there, but Peter's not going to make this trip back with him. He's just going to send Spider-Man in his place. Peter said he'd stay behind while the three of us go back to New York. It's like, come on.
I love the idea. Like when they get back, Robbie is just like eternally mortified that he left Peter behind in hell.
Well, no, they do. Spider-Man says he was able to make it out.
Right.
I just think it'd be funnier if Robbie thought they left him
he was
behind.
able to make it out. I see. How? And he left you. And so wait a minute. So it's like, well, wait a minute. Then they should be Robbie should be thinking, wait a minute. Peter made it out and left Jonah and me behind.
Yeah. This is what Peter did 6 months ago. This is what he did. He got left everyone else behind.
We don't want to talk to him.
But it's like the whole idea was getting us out of here. He found a way out and he just left. And then he said, it's like he goes to
And
New
he
York.
tells how to get out.
Real Sigma grind set.
What he did was he hopped over in Scott's book.
He says, "Oh, Spider-Man, I forgot Robbie and Jonah. I left him behind in hell."
See, at this
That's a
point,
Mountain Dew man.
That's what
Robbie-
you have to assume. You have to assume.
I have to assume that Robbie knows. Otherwise, he's the biggest idiot ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been even Nick Spencer was pretty strongly hinting that Robbie knew.
Yeah.
It's like stop doing this. We know better. Everybody knows better. And
Mateus,
stop it with Aunt
going
May
back
too.
what Conway, even maybe far back as no.
I've always believed.
Stan
I've
Lee,
always
maybe.
believed that Robbie finally put it together because he was with Captain Stacy. Remember, like in the
Mhm.
issues
Yes.
60s and 70s, they were meeting and talking about Spider-Man, trying to compare notes, what they knew or whatever. So I'm thinking, well, all of a sudden, then Captain Stacy stopped going to these meetings. Well, part of it is, of course, because he died. And then. And then Peter, Robbie, in order to kind of facilitate, getting together with Gwen because Peter has no balls. He couldn't tell Gwen he was Spider-Man ever. That's what you want to do with. See, he wants to propose to her, but he doesn't want to tell her he's Spider-Man. It's like, I can't go to the store and not tell my wife, where I'm going, what I'm going, when I'm going to be back. He thinks he can get married and not tell his woman that he's a vigilante. I just like stupid. Yeah. Anyway, so Robbie knows. But yeah, I mean, you have to sit there and say, yeah, Peter. Peter found a way out. Just left those guys behind, didn't take them with him, but he's, and then he gets back. Oh, I forgot. Hey, Spider-Man, would you go? But see, Peter knows the way back. Why didn't Peter just go back and get him and come take him out? But he said Spider-Man. I mean, come on. I mean, it's a comic book. I know it's a comic book. It's like nobody recognizes Clark Kent and Superman without the glasses. But I mean, come on, this is really
at least try a little harder.
Yeah. Try. Well, there you go. Try a little harder. That's exactly right. Well, before they can make their escape, the Insidious Six show up. And then they start fighting. Fight. How does this keep getting? Can this get any weirder?
Yes,
I love how even Peter's like, when they're like, "Do you want to face the wrath of the Insidious?" And Peter's like, "Sure, whatever."
All right, it can get weirder. What happens, JR?
Well, apparently, little Pedo Petey has been turned into
recrap.
Well, actually, my first thought was Spider-Side has come back. I mean, because that's exactly what he looks like almost.
He's a Battletoad.
Yeah.
It's
Battletoad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was that's as good as any other. But now say hello to
Wreck Rap.
Oh, Wreck Rap. Okay, I thought I got disconnected.
I get the name. Like I get what's supposed to go for.
But
it's still bad.
Funny. It's not funny. It's not amusing.
Oh my God! It's Parker backwards.
Yes, Brad.
You just got that?
I literally just looked at it.
God.
Oh,
man.
Jesus.
Hey, Brad, I found pictures of Wreck Rap going back to the 1990s.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a look.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Zitz. Hi, Rash. Hey, Pimple. How y'all doing? We're good, Ryan. How about you?
I played that game back in the day. Okay, so we have Parker, the dyslexic Parker. So we have it backwards. I got it.
Dyslexic Spider-Man.
Dyslexic Spider-Man. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and JR, your grade?
I'm going to, when I was reading through this initially, I was actually mildly amused because, as a standalone little quirky issue, it could have been funny. I mean, and I always like situations where Jonah, for example, is so out of his depth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Jonah prides himself on being a person who's in control of the situation at all times. And now he's clearly out of his depth and doesn't know quite what to do. But I got to give this a D. I mean, because it's just no, I wasn't personally offended. I mean, that's a pretty big threshold, but. It's like, God, 3 issues of this shit, I mean, and it's, but see, here's the thing. You don't feel any of it is ancillary to the main story. It does not feel like it's building to anything. No, these are like little vignettes and the real story is going on elsewhere. And then like whoever writes Dark Web Exodus or Z or Dark Web, Omega or whatever the hell it's going to be called, it's like somebody will say, oh, that's right, Spider-Man was part of this, and theyll bring him in and it's
so we have a D minus. Is that what you said?
Just a D.
Just a D. Neil, what's your grade?
I'll probably give it a D.
D.
There's redeeming. There's more than one redeeming quality.
Okay.
Oh really?
Tyler, grade?
This is an F from me.
Okay. Mike?
I'm going to quote from something that was actually funny from one of the funniest things of all time. Mr. Wells, what you have just written is one of the most insanely idiotic things that I've ever read.
Nice.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent, writing were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in the comic verse is now dumber for having read this comic. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Very good. So your grade?
That was my grade. It's a flat 0. Okay.
0.
I'm not
Yeah.
even bothered.
Wow.
I'm not
Yeah.
even bothered because at least you get something with this. This
Yeah.
is
It's nothing.
boom. This is a
Ryan, what's
big
your grade?
old-
This is an F.
Yep. And I will also give it an A. No, I'm kidding. An F out of me. Personally insulted that this is in my legacy book called Amazing Spider-Man, the 900th and 11th issue of one of the best comic books of all time. We have lost it with this. This is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. JR, anything positive? The bed that wants to seduce Jonah, maybe? I can't even believe I said that sentence. Can you believe
Well,
it?
to be honest, Jonah is alone now, so I mean,
Now,
I
does he
mean,
like
in
his
a way,
bed
it's almost
king?
kind of like
Does he like the king bed, the queen size, the California queen, or does he just do a twin?
Depends how big their lips are, Brad.
Depends on what you mean by does he do the bed?
I was about to say, how cold is it in Missouri? Because it sounds like it sounds like you stepped outside without a hat for too long, and it froze what was left of your brain there. I mean,
Right.
Okay, I have.
Better watch it. I'm going to kick you to the satellite podcast.
Ooh. Yeah,
No, I meant like
JR.
Tyler's insult. I'm going to kick you to the other story.
Okay.
no,
what
you're
I
it
meant.
already
It didn't
slipped
work.
out. Brad Douglas admits Satellite Spider-Man podcast is grossly inferior to the original.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't
That's
mean
what
it
it
like
sounded
that.
like. That's what it sounded like.
I can't wait for the
Neil, now's
Rolling
your
Stone
opportunity to tell me it didn't work.
They got it.
I did. You weren't
Okay.
paying attention.
Okay, exactly. It didn't work. JR, any positives besides the twin bed?
I thought it was mildly amusing, and like I said, if this was like a standalone story, to just have a slight change. I don't like Spider-Man doing magic or crap or anything like that. But if you have a whole lot of serious stories, down to earth stories, it's okay. I mean, it's a comic book; it's okay. But the fact that I didn't like Pedo Man, but like I said, I like the idea of just the whole world. Throw it being completely insane, and logic doesn't work in this world. But it's in a way, this is a wasted opportunity. It could have been funny, but it's not. But my pros were, it could have been a contender, but unfortunately, it's not.
Instead, it was an offender. So. JR, you are like me in the fact that you like grounded Spider-Man street level stuff generally, right? That's what the classic Romita Ditko stuff was, grounded in organized crime. It was I got to get the medicine, the Aunt May. I don't like Spider-Man in space. I don't like Spider-Man in hell. I like him on the streets of New York City.
You won't like what Wells said, that apparently he has a spacesuit for Peter in upcoming issues.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Because
I read that.
let's just get them off the streets of New York.
If these are like little one-off, for everybody to catch their break until the next heavy story, I don't have a problem with that, to be honest. I mean, come on, this is a character we've been reading about for 900 and something issues. We're going to have oddball story, but the fact that it's part of something. I mean, it's like a one-issue joke that so far has stretched out to at least 3 issues.
Well, if you count the tie-ins, it's much more than 3 issues.
Exactly. It's just there's really not a story here. I mean, when you think about it, the villains are not the villains are not compelling. They don't have a compelling motivation.
None.
You don't feel like
they're even pissed to be there.
Yeah, exactly. The villains are tired.
Madeline's like bored. Like, why are you wasting my time with this?
This is really stupid, Ben. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
So she's the reader.
Right. Oh, yes.
I mean, that's like Norman Osborn taking Gwen all the way to the bridge or whatever, and saying, "No, I'm sick of this shit." I'll
be honest. If we got Steve Lieber to draw a page of that where like Green Goblin just like sputters his way up to the bridge and goes, "I'm bored," and then he just left, that would be hilarious.
Before we move on to cons,
Gwen, you want to go get a sundae and just wait for Pete to show up?
I've got pros.
Okay, you are the lone. Does anybody besides Neil have pros?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
A love letter to Dungeons and Dragons. There's my pro.
The only thing I could sort of like, I don't even know if it's a real pro, the Jonah bed scene is so ridiculous that I can show it out of context to somebody and it's funny because they don't understand.
I got you.
Right.
Okay, Neil, take over. What do you got for pros?
So, like JR said, like on a first read through, you just kind of like Wells has kind of lost his mind, and it's fun to watch like his mental decline as we're along for the ride. I'll admit the Jonah bit with the bed got a laugh out of me. There's a bunch of visual gags, and mostly McGinnis, like the body shop being where they transform the demons into the Insidious Six. I got a laugh out of that. Right. I enjoyed Peter and Jonah's like little, like it's very small, but like that one page after after the bed scene, I thought that was pretty good. I think Peter Wells writes a good Peter Jonah back and forth. But like, who gives a shit about Rec Rap?
Yeah, you're right.
All right, JR Cons, is it this guy? Rec Rap or Recrap?
Well, yeah. I mean, see, it was like what. One, I mean, you should be amused that you should like this guy and be amused that this has happened, but you're not because he comes off as a. I mean, it's spooky, it's creepy. You know, you should. So you don't like this guy, and now you find out that he's going to be probably the main driver of the next issue, and it's like, oh my god!
Oh no, he's the star of the next issue. Well,
hey,
no,
the other thing is too, since he's a symbiote related, it could tie into symbiote wars.
I'm gonna throw up.
In fact, I believe that might be
main
part
con.
of it.
Tyler, this is what you and your kind of brought upon us, Tyler. This is all your fault.
No, stop.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Here.
JR, Recrap is one of your cons. Anything else?
Actually,
no,
I was going to say
it's JR's book, so let's. And then
I've pretty well articulated it.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I was kind of horrified by Jonah's NC-17 version of Pee-wee's Playhouse. But
Cherry, yeah, I get it.
Cherry, we love you, Cherry.
Oh, Cherry, that's funny.
And there also, I think that whole joke about all the demons in Limbo based mispronouncing their names. It's first of all, it wasn't funny the first time, and it's a gag. Like, it not only just beat the dead horse, it took the dead horse, basically set it on fire and shot it several times, and then threw it off a cliff and just tried to make sure.
It's like the screaming goats in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah,
the joke doesn't work, and as Neil tells me, some of mine don't work either.
Right, and then of course we get Ben Riley.
Who cares about that?
And when even the person who helped bring him into the scheme is like thinking, wow, I made a mistake. I really regret doing this. You just know again, it's just everything about Ben's plan is just dumb. It's like, oh, I'm going to try to get Peter to eat this green goopy looking apple.
The green booger.
I'm going to create a new version of the Insidious Six. Also, we can try to get Peter sold. Like at no point do you even buy, like, there's why would
any stakes? Is there any
why
stakes?
Would this
Nothing.
Yeah. Why would this even work? What makes you think this would work? When why, like when Maddie's like saying this is like when she's saying this is a complete waste of my time. Yes,
it is, lady.
Based Maddie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a bit since we're closer to Dark Web X-Men number 3 than we were when we started this episode. I'm gonna do a bit of spoilers. So what happens is that Jean Grey solves the plot by when Maddie's like, I want your memories from the Cerebro unit. Jean's like, okay, here, I'm just gonna copy paste them from my head into yours. And Maddie's like, oh, I guess I'm good now. So by accident, Jerry Dugan solved the problem. So if you read the preview for the next issue, Wells is having to twist himself to try and move the goalposts so that Ben doesn't just get the automatic fix. Like, oh, okay, let's go put the demons back in limbo.
What? The question though, why didn't Maddie just ask? Why didn't she just ask for her memories?
Because we have to have a plot.
And a miniseries.
Yeah. Hey Ryan, what's some of your cons?
Well, like I said, I do like fun stories when they get kooky. I really do. I like when the bed with James did make me, the body part show did actually make me laugh. But the problem is, Maddie says it thing. This is a waste of my time. I mean, the book is like got nothing. Ben is so low level to the fact that one of the other character who is so propped up, and also as Zeb Wells has also said, like, oh, I am finally finishing those storylines I had in Hellions, and he doesn't have to do anything with it. It's just, unlike the last issue, which I said I gave a higher grade because of the pacing, it felt like it was even where the characters got booted to spin off city. It felt like it was actually going somewhere. This doesn't, and nothing makes sense of the plan. Ben's like, well, I could shove this down. I think if you would have done that, Ben, you would have done that later. I want to go, well, Peter, why don't you say, like, Ben, I'm getting this. You basically, but at the same time, he also didn't go like, how did you agree Robbie and Jonah to get pulled into limbo? What? Because if they have to go, willingly, how did they go here? Of course, when Miss Marvel goes like, oh, Ms. Marvel, go forth and go to your own miniseries for 2 issues. I'm done with you, versus no, Peter, I could shove this. No, you can't. Okay.
And the what about the teaser to make you want to pick up the next issue? Does recrap make you say, "Oh, can't wait to see what recrap's going to do"?
He's barely even in the preview. It's mostly stuff.
He's a Joe Boxer Kmart commercial from 1987. I mean, he is. He's wearing the underoos shirt. He's got the underwear, and he's running around.
His name is
no. But Ryan, I think he's talking about the teaser for ASM 18 that came out today.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the rec. It didn't make me. I just went, oh, please make it stop. Just stop. I've got the Battletoad trying to be the last Ronin.
But for whatever reason, now the next issue of ASM has X-Men in it now, even though they haven't been in the book for 3 issues. Sure, I guess.
That's exactly it. I mean, Maddie's like, I'm going to go to my own book. I have other issues to do. Oh, here they are. Remember them?
Just awful.
I'm back now with these other guys who I kidnapped.
The original Inferno storyline, which this is supposed to be about. It is.
Yeah. Hey, before we get to the comments, any thoughts about this issue before we go to comments?
Yeah. I haven't really talked, but
okay, go ahead, Tyler.
I'm obviously a huge symbiote fan, and I despise everything about this character. Like, not only he looks horrible. I think he looks terrible. I hate his design.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not like usually with symbiotes, you at least get the cool design. No, even if it's like it's kind of a lame symbiote. Like even Red Goblin kind of had a cool, interesting design, even though I don't like the character. But this is just garbage. It's straight up awful looking. And so I hate that it's involved with symbiotes at all. If it was like an evil demon version of Spider-Man, whatever, but it's a symbiote character now. Yeah. And not only that, it's the stupid demon from the last Venom issue who he got paid in symbiote, and then now he's turning into a weird Spider-Man. I hate this. I hate this so much.
Is that better than Bitcoin? Paid in symbiote? What is that?
Sure.
Yeah, but its value is tanking.
Oh my gosh.
And it crashed hard.
Oh, I agree, Tyler. For being a symbiote fan, it's offensive.
Yep.
That's what you get for being a symbiote fan.
In our chat, we have Bruce, and Bruce was mentioned in the letters pages right here. So, Bruce, look at that. One of the letters writers mentioned your letter. So, Bruce, that's awesome.
What an honor.
And Bruce also has a question about comment. Ben Riley talking like Deadpool, trying to be funny and crazy, and it's not good.
Yeah, most of the stuff trying to be funny is not good.
Yeah, so, it's not only self-forced, it doesn't even work as a.
Tevia says this book is a train wreck. Is this the worst? Is this worse than the Dan Slott Spider-Man series?
No, I don't think so.
The story may be. I can't think of a worse Slott story.
I think the region issues were probably worse than this. I'm going to be honest.
Oh.
From All New, All Different.
I even think the 50th anniversary character. What was his name?
Alpha.
Oh, Alpha.
Yeah, I think Alpha's better than this.
No, okay. I'm gonna.
All right.
Okay, listen, listen,
bad. Okay,
it's not a competition for which one's more ass. They're just both ass.
I'll give you that. It's all ass. Yeah. Apparently, the space suit will be part of What Did Peter Do?
Yes, it's the suit that he and Norman are modifying on.
Yeah, the
I think Zeb Wells wants to compare Spider-Man readers to Annie Wilkes from Misery, says Michael.
Bears I never thought of.
Spider-Man Crawlspace F. Mostly because this book is freaking sucks and isn't Spider-Man, but just garbage comedy that isn't funny, says Tevia.
I mean, that's been Spider-Man for the past 10 years. So depending on
Radiac 55 says, for as much as previous runs had terrible lows, since past One More Day and worldwide, nothing comes close to this. I'm so devastated. The Amazing Spider-Man is at a point where it's not entertaining at all.
I don't. Okay. Once again, I get the sentiment. I just can't reconcile like the lows of worldwide, because I was on the front lines of talking about the lows of worldwide.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is as bad as
I didn't buy worldwide, so that says something. And I bought this.
Yeah, I was right there with you.
Gary says that I have more decency for slots run than this. These 3 issues, the previous 12, Hobgoblin, Tombstone, I liked it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
This is utter crap. Bruce gave it an F minus. Woo!
Ooh.
This
Pros, only the variant homage to ASM 50 by Romita Jr. That was pretty. And my name mentioned in the letters pages. That's pretty sad.
This was
By the way, Bruce, I'm sorry that you're in one of the worst books of the run of Amazing Spider-Man.
It is your letter. You get like a fan moment. It's like, why did I get the worst issue ever?
Oh yeah.
This
Jonathan gave it an F.
This was apparently the story Wells wanted to tell, and I'm glad he got to tell it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to know what he didn't want to write.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tevia gives I give this issue a big F because this event is a train wreck and
He
not
already
funny,
said
but
that.
just garbage. Mary says as a standalone issue, I agree with JR. This is so stupid, it's fun. And it makes me forget the worst dark web plot. D from Venkman. A minus out of Mr. Comics. This issue was fun for me.
Well,
I was talking about.
It's stupid. Some people like stupid humor, I guess.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
although Billy Madison did it right.
The Transformers movies made billions of dollars. So
Yeah,
there's
we
not
all
a-
know what those were.
Yeah.
Tevia says, a question, side note for the panel. I'm just wondering for Peter Parker and Mary Jane having their daughter, Mayday Parker, Spider-Girl, and Across the Spider-Verse movie, because for me, I am so happy.
I don't. What was the question?
Oh, I guess.
Are we happy that Mayday
Are
was
we
in the
happy
film?
with it? Apparently,
I
guess
don't
so.
know.
Because
Wait until we see the film, then we'll be excited if they
Right.
do Mayday justice.
yeah. Talk to me in a couple months.
So, all right. Couple things. Let's do final thoughts before we wrap it up. Tyler, final thoughts on this episode, on these 3 books.
Boy, we really are in hell, huh? Honestly, with the rec wrap thing, like this is the tipping point for me, and it's
Yeah, you're done,
I'm
huh?
going to get the Dodson issue because I want the art, and then I'm done. I'm dropping the book after that. I can't do this anymore.
You're pulling a George. You're walking away from Amazing Spider-Man. We're 1 down. Mike, thoughts? Final thoughts?
I mean, this is just you kind of have to wonder to yourself. We're putting off the whole what did Peter do for like ever and ever, and we get this. This is what you wanted. This is what Wells wanted basically. I'm gonna put out the big mystery that I'm gonna tease readers like in the first issue for almost a year on end. And
do you think that's Wells, or do you think that's editorial?
I don't know, but if it's who cares who it is? It's somebody had to greenlit this. Yeah. Somebody had to basically, so Wells had to pitch this idea, and basically everybody's like, "Hey, yeah, this sounds great." And while they were writing the story, even the writer were realizing, "Wow, this thing is really stupid." Yeah. And I don't, but we're on that. We took in the off ramp to stupid. We're gonna keep going to stupid because we don't know how to get off of this road to stupid. But
is stupid hell?
Yeah.
Hey, also real quick, I want to give a shout out to Venkman for a super chat. He says, as I keep saying, this issue was like a bad latter season episode of Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, where the goofy, unfunny humor completely undermines any seriousness the story might have had. Yes, Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
That brings
when you have the talking, the scooter, and the mailboxes and the singing trees. It's very much like an episode of the cartoon of the Ghostbusters. I would agree very much on that. And thank you for the super chat, Victor. That's very nice. Appreciate that. Oh, look, Kelly is in chat. Tevye, if you want to talk Mayday, come join Patreon and watch Satellites. We're going to go over the Infinity comic and the Spider-Verse that has a major 982 Spider-Girl bit.
Yep. She shall do beautifully with it.
Yeah. If you want to sign up, it's right there at patreon.com/crawlspace. And guess what? We're reviewing 27 issues.
Oh,
JR, you coming over for that party?
No, actually, I would rather listen to Tevye sing "If I Were a Rich Man."
20.
I know.
Issues.
It's like if I didn't have a thing at home, I'd be there for all 20 because I think I read about
27 issues.
But it's like, oh man, past my bedtime tonight.
27 issues have come out in the last month since we've done a Spider satellite issue over on Patreon. So again, patreon.com/crawlspace. You'll hear Kelly talk about those 2 Spider-Girl, Spider-Verse books. You've got Savage Avengers, The Lost Hunt. You've got Carnage. You got Murder World Spider-Man, Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Dark Web X-Men, Dark Web Ms. Marvel, Gold Goblin, Dark Web, Mary Jane and Black Cat, and Venom, and Stan Slott's Spider Book, and Joe Fixit #1, which freaking loved it. Holy crap, that book's cool.
I
Anyway,
want out. I'm in hell.
you are well. Go hop in the bed.
Oh God!
We'll take Reginald Barkley with us. We're like, come on, Reg, we're out of here.
Go hop in the bed.
Brad knows I can't stand all night.
Same here. That's my problem.
So
I can't do
we
it.
got a final thought out of Mike. Anything else, Mike?
That's it so
Okay,
far.
Ryan. Final thoughts, sir.
Final thoughts here. This was pros for thing that this was supposed to be what Wells wanted to do. One of his deals with Ryan Spider-Man. He wanted to finish what we had in Hellions, and he has barely even touched any of those characters. In fact, as the guys will go on satellite here, all that's been done on other issues. He's not even the writer of. And after all this, after you said good street level, good thing with the Hobgoblin, even a nice introduction to lead to the Gold Goblin mini series and everything, we get this. And I do like silly fun. I really do. But this was not fun. Outside maybe the joke with the bed and Jameson, I remember getting the rec wrap, and I honestly threw the book down, and my dog looked at me like, oh, Daddy mad, and she ran away. She could tell.
You should have done what the dog did and ran away from this book, Ryan. It's awful, man.
I mean, unlike Tyler, I am Painbot right now. I will get through to what did Peter do and onto the other side of that. But
A stronger man than I.
That's why I'm Painbot, Tyler. That's why I'm Painbot. So and the final other thought on that too is, what did we do to deserve this?
We paid $4. We should get better than this.
Exactly.
Neil, final thoughts.
So I'm kind of in a similar boat as Tyler. I actually didn't hate where we started, but by the time we ended with Rec Rap, I thought to myself, maybe we should go back to the sewer where the turtles are hiding the slime.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. Like Tyler's braver than I am. Even he's going to the end of the Dodson issues. Yeah. Dark Web comes. I'm out. Marvel doesn't respect my time or my money, so they will not get either. Well, they'll get it on different books. They'll get it on different ongoings for other characters who actually respect my time and money.
We just got announced Jed McKay's on Avengers.
Yeah,
it looks like a good book, man. Brad
and I were talking about it. I'm like, sure, okay. If someone wants to replace ASM with a good book, okay.
Jed McKay on Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, you know what? Zeb Wells had 12 good issues, but after this, Zeb Wells has lost the grace period for me personally.
I kind of don't want McKay on ASM, mostly because he would probably be fighting editorial most of the way, and we'll talk about with MJ and Black Cat, but when he doesn't want to go against the direction, when he wants to go against editorial's direction, he really suffers as far as the quality of his writing goes.
Or Cantwell could be a good ASM writer. With
What
that
about
Gold
Patrick
Goblin
Gleason?
was any indication.
I'd be fine with Gleason. He's proven
Patrick Gleason
over
on
at
that.
DC, he can write and draw. He's proven that.
Well, he doesn't have the output. He doesn't have the output time pipeline to do a biweekly. He can only do monthly.
And our final thought of the night goes to the recap.
Record crap.
JR goes to JR.
Yeah,
rear cap.
Oh, hold on, Ray Charles.
Oh,
hold on.
We're going Blade Runner, baby.
Oh, here we go.
Come with me if you want to live.
For as long as this story lasts, I'm going to be wearing these so that I don't have to read them.
And JR is smarter than us all. I hope this story ends soon. How many more issues of this we got? The next one more, and then we're
18
off
and
to
18 in the finale and the
And-
Omega
and
issue, and then we're off to
and the-
Dodson.
Yeah.
okay. It
Yeah,
can't be-
basically
so
Dark Web Dawn and
late
all wrapped up.
February. Late
Right.
February.
Middle
I
of
don't care.
February, yeah.
Middle of February. We got to
Yeah,
put
one
up
more
with
amazing a Venom issue, tie-in with Gold Goblin, and
Damn, that Gwen Stacy bridge is looking real tempting right about now.
I'm
Nap.
just gonna jump.
All right, join us.
I'm gonna do it. I'm jumping.
In a few minutes on Patreon. We will be over there. Patreon.com/crawlspace. 27 Spider-Man books. You want to sign up for that. Check it out. We'll be back in just a few.